Hello everyone, and welcome back to ANI201. In this video, I'm just going to explain the basic concept of coding in Excel. Sorry, not coding in Excel. Coding in Adobe After Effects. It helps when I say the word I want to say. So, what I have right here is, I just have a little timeline, and if you'll notice, when I click and drag my rotation here, this scale of this y-axis goes up automatically with me, and that sort of thing. This is not being done with keyframes, this is being done with an expression, it's being done with coding, this code being right here. So, how did I get to this part? Well, let me just delete this, delete that, let me just keep the shape layer here, and let me move this over here, and I'll start and I'll show you. So, right now I have my shape layer. I can always, of course, just rename it. And I'll just rename this to, I don't know, my control. Because I'm going to control this. Okay. So then I'm going to make a new shape layer. And I'll make it right there. Why not? And I will change the anchor point just so that it's only at the y-axis right about, and we'll say there. And I'll switch myself back to the selection tool to move it, so there we go. So, here we are. I now have two things here, one of them being my control, and one of them being, I'll say this is a volume bar, okay? Because this is the way I want to envision this, is a volume bar. You know, the song plays, and as the song plays, the scale, let me desync this, the scale, you know, goes up and down. When there's more volume, it's louder and it gets higher. When there's less volume, it's softer, so on and so forth. You know, you've seen these bars sort of bounce around, boing, 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 that sort of thing. That's what we're going to do. Now, we could, if we want to, keyframe this and say, okay, at this point of the song, it's up here, and then at this point of the song, it goes down here, then at this point of the song, it goes, you know, down here, so on and so forth. We could do something like that, but that would be very, 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 very tedious. So here's the little trick. Every single thing in these contents, every single thing in, you know, the size path, the size, position, roundness, the stroke, color, opacity, meter limit, every single thing you have that has a stopwatch can be controlled via coding. It can be controlled via an expression. So I'm just going to just set this to scale, because that's the only thing I want to do here, is just set the scale. And I have the rotation here. So, to do this, on a Mac, you're going to need to hold the Option button, and you're going to need to click the stopwatch. And that has now turned this you know, thing red. So now this redness has now, you know, given me, you know, it has now given me a scale here. It says transform scale as a code. But I have these other options right here. I have myself the enable expression, show post expression graph, the expression pick whip. The pick whip will work just as well as the parent and link right there, but instead of parenting everything, I'm just parenting part of the expression. So I can just click and drag this to the rotation. And now you'll see that this temp, this name of this expression is temp. I could name this whatever I want, but right now it's being named temp. So the temp is this this composition dot layer. So on this composition that I'm on, it has this layer. And the layer I'm going to is the control. So control, and specifically because I dragged it to the rotation, I dragged this little pick whip down to the rotation. The rotation is what's going to control my X and my Y. And you'll see right here I've got temp and temp. So whatever the value temp is will become the value of X and the value of Y. So if I rotate this, you'll see how, as I rotate this, this is at 92 rotation, so therefore my X and my Y are at 92% scale. At 14% rotation, it's at 14% X and Y. Now I can always click on this and then say, you know what, I don't want this to be that. I want this to always be 100%. Remember, X comes first, then Y. If I were to make this a 3D layer, it'd be X, Y, and Z. So now what I'm doing, you'll notice, is X always stays the same, but this time Y moves via my rotation. Now, I could, of course, I have this currently set to being the rotation to affect this layer right here. Now, obviously, in this example I said, I would have, gotten to an audio track, clicked and dragged the audio track in, and instead of using the little pick whip, which is this little spiral tool, to drag it to the rotation of a control device, I would instead be putting it to the volume of my, audio levels, something like that. And that applies to everything. You have any of these effects and presets in here, I guarantee you, I don't know, let me just grab a distort here. I'll grab a smear. And the volume bar has a smear effect on it now because I clicked and dragged it over. Give it a few moments to load. And you look at this, you'll see that this smear is affected by, all this sort of stuff. And of course, I can go into the effects and I can go to the smear, and guess what? I can just, I can grab the radius of that. Let me just go and click the click the radius here. Boom! That can also be affected. Once again, every single thing can be affected by something else. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to have this go to the, and I can pick specifically the X or the Y. I'm going to pick the Y. So I just grab this down here. Now you'll see that my radius is affected specifically by the transform scale of 1. Why does that say 1? Well, because in computer language, the first option is 0. So if you were to count to 10, you would go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's just what that's saying. So now, if I were to, rotate my scale here, you'll see that also what's happening is the warp itself is also, growing in size as this warp happens. So this warp is now, the radius of this warp is at 236 because the scale that I parented it to is at 236. I could have easily typed transform.scales and put a 1 in the brackets. I could have done that simply by typing it, but it's much easier to just click and drag things, I feel. So that's basically how expressions work. It's just code that you can use to, instead of using keyframes, manipulate anything of an object. So for something that would require a lot of different type of fine movement or adjustments, you can have it essentially be automatically generated by using a different object as its control. So if you want something to change color as it gets bigger, you could do that with this. If you want something to, have a more transparent effect as it gets bigger, you could do that too. Anything you want to attach to anything else can be attached via these types of controls. And since this is not a coding class, I'm not going to tell you to type things out manually. It's going to be much easier just to use the expression pick whip. And hopefully that helps people out with what the instructions in the Week 5 assignment are telling you to do, because it wants you to use these pick whips and drag different globe parts to different things. So it's just, click the expression. Once you get your red text and whatever, you get your text and all that, grab the pick whip and drag it to the different things you want to attach things to. And it's just a matter of doing that. I know it sounds difficult in text format, but it really is just all clicking and dragging. Just know that Option click will get you from this blue text of keyframing into this red text of doing, stuff like that. So once again, I just clicked and dragged it, and now as I, move my rotation, the reach is also going out as well. Ooh. And you can just do weird stuff like that. Thank you very much. I hope this video has been helpful. Please, of course, if anyone has any problems, always feel free to email me, and I will make more of these videos to explain more of these concepts. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great day.